Hello and welcome to another health talk. This health talk is about oils, specifically cooking oils. So that ranges from the solid fats like butter, shortening, lard, and hard stick margarine, all the way to palm and coconut and other tropical oils. And on the other end, we have the canola, corn, olive, and so on and so forth. First of all, I'd like to point out to you that there are different qualities of oil. The average oil sold in stores is a refined oil, and as a consequence, it has a certain amount of trans fats in it. The trans fats aren't natural to the oil, they're introduced during the refining process. And which kind of oil has been refined determines how much trans fats, well, also the process that's used, will determine how much trans fats exist in that oil after the refining process is completed. Now, some refined oils will have a substantial amount of trans fats in them. So, there are actually two sources of trans fats. The first we all know about, it's the trans fats that are introduced into foods through refining and also the partial hydrolyzation of a product. So if you go to a fast food restaurant and you're eating fried food, especially deep fried food, there's a great possibility, especially if the oil isn't regularly replaced, that you are consuming trans fats both because of the fact that they're using heat processed or chemically processed refined oils, in other words, and because they use that oil over and over and over and over again. And the more you use an oil again, the more trans fats are produced within the oil. So fast food or even fried food that's not fast food, like junk food, is really bad for you because of the trans fat content. Now, the other kind of trans fat is naturally occurring trans fat. It exists in the fat of ruminants like cows and sheep and goats and things like that. Some of the animals that you like to eat. So when you're eating animal fat, and I'm not sure if there's any within the meat, but definitely if you're eating animal fat or you're eating marbled meat, you are consuming trans fats. The more you eat, the more you get. And actually, if you compare the amount of trans fats that exist in animals versus the refined oils, in general, you're going to get more from the meat than you are going to get from the oils, and you're going to get more from the fried food, fast foods and junk foods than you are going to get from the meat. So if you fry a meat in refined oil, you're going to get a whole lot. So fried chicken and so on and so forth, those are really, really great sources for trans fats and for shortening your life. Now, if a product has less than, I believe it's half a gram of trans fat in a serving, and serving sizes can vary depending on what they use for a definition, but if there's less than half a gram of trans fat in something, it can be declared as trans fat free. So, and they did discover that, for example, trans fat in 19 corn oil in China was all detected ranging from 0.56 or half a gram plus to 4.75 grams per 100 grams, with an average of 2.01 grams per 100 grams. So if we then divide, we're looking at less than half a gram, so they can label it legally as not having trans fat, even though it does have trans fat in it. Now, and you can see this, there's an article on the National Institutes of Health called, hold on, let me go back to the top, it's called Analysis of Trans Fat in Edible Oils with Cooking Process. And It looks like the people who did this were in Korea, judging by the names on here. Let's see. Yeah, I'm not sure, but that's what it looks like. All the names are Korean names as far as I can tell. And so you can look at that and get some information there. You can also go to the American Heart Association. They have an article called Healthy Cooking Oils. And I'm going to borrow some information from here as well. So it's very important that you understand that you're going to want to reduce the intake of these unhealthy fat sources or oil sources. And also keep in mind, oil is high in calories. It may not have a ton of sugar or something like that, but it's still a fat. It still contains a lot of calories. Just 1 tablespoon or teaspoon can contain over 100 calories in it. Just one. Okay? So if you're counting your calories and you're using oil, well, you're just, you're really making it hard on yourself. All right, so instead of using solid fats and tropical oils, so again, solid fats are butter, shortening, lard, and hard stick margarine, you should be using, and then the tropical oils include palm and coconut, and I'm not sure what other ones are considered tropical oils. I'd have to look that up for you. But those are the ones you want to get out of your diet. Now, as far as the butter shortening, the solid fats, that's because of the high content of saturated fats, which is what makes them solid. And then if you get palm and coconut oil, especially the solid form, that's also got a lot of saturated fats. But even palm and coconut oil that are liquid still have a lot of saturated fat. And if you ever take a look at a product that has coconut milk, cream, or oil in it, you're going to discover that it's high in saturated fats, depending on how much oil was used in the ingredients. So you want to get rid of those. So ones that the American Heart Association recommends include canola, olive, safflower, sunflower, corn, peanut, and soybean, as well as specialty ones like avocado, grapeseed, rice bran, and sesame, which can be healthy but are more expensive, generally speaking. Now, there are reports out there, there are people out there claiming that oil is bad for you, and yes, to an extent, oil is bad for you. You can definitely cook without using cooking oils. I did it for years. I bought a bottle of oil, and it took me over a year to get rid of it because of how rarely I used it, and that was usually for baking cakes and stuff like that. But I hardly ever used it. I just used water. You don't need oil to cook, and you certainly shouldn't be frying food because it's really bad for your health, especially deep frying. But when you look at this list, one of the things, so some of the things that you can do with cooking oils instead of the solid cooking fats is you can make salad dressings, marinades, dips and sauces. You can grill, saute, stir fry, bake, or roast foods. Like I like to take asparagus and coat it with oil that's been infused with like Italian seasoning or something like that, and I roll all the asparagus around in that oil until it's nice and coated, so when the asparagus comes out of the oven it's still juicy instead of dried up. You can coat pans to keep food from sticking. You can spread or drizzle on foods for flavor. You can season cast iron cookware. You can substitute for butter, margarine, or solid fats in recipes. And one very, very, very important point about healthy oils is when it gets to the point where it's starting to smoke, it's breaking down, and that's bad. It's bad for your health to eat oil that is broken down. You should throw it away and start over, because if you eat that oil that's reached the smoking point, you're risking your health over the long term. If oil smells bad, if it has an acrid smell that's different from when you first got it at the store, it is probably rancid, which means it's spoiling. It can also become oxidized, and so you need to make sure when you first get the oil, smell it and see what it smells like, and then later on, if you've had it for a long time, check it and see if the smell is different. Finally, I want to go back to the list that I read to you of recommended cooking oils. I do not recommend corn and soybean oils, and probably not peanut oil, depending on how much you consume in the way of peanuts. The reason I say don't eat corn and soy is because corn and soy, because they're subsidized by the U.S. government, by the USDA, their price of production is way lower than the actual cost of production. What I'm saying is the price that they put on it for the market is way lower than it should be. And as a consequence, a lot of companies have used these products. And so you will find soy in all kinds of stuff. It's used for all kinds, and also corn. They're both altered and refined, and they isolate stuff like lecithin, and they make all kinds of stuff from corn and soy. And as a consequence, you're getting an excessive amount of omega-3s and omega-6s from these in an imbalanced way. So try your best to avoid those two oils. Stick with the canola, the olive, safflower, sunflower, avocado, grapeseed, rice bran, and sesame. Those are the ones that are going to be better for your health. Now, do keep in mind, of course, sesame has a strong flavor, and avocado can have somewhat of a strong flavor as well. But these are the ones that are best for your health. Ultimately, however, for your health, it's best to limit your use and intake of oils as much as possible. Now, I know I like to consume vinaigrettes, and vinaigrettes are made with vinegar and oil and then some spices and stuff, and I enjoy that, but the truth of the matter is it's high in calories because of all that oil, and so it's not a healthful choice in terms of caloric intake. So if you're trying to limit your calories, you're trying to stay at like 1900 calories or something like that, which is a better caloric intake, a safer caloric intake for longer health, and longer life and better health, then you would want to definitely limit it. Also, when you're looking at oils, if you have a choice between an extra virgin, a virgin, or a refined oil, always go for the virgin or extra virgin. If you can afford it, always get the extra virgin. Now, what does virgin mean? It means that instead of using, like with the refined oils, they use heat and they use chemicals. Now, coconut oil, for example, it's a process. So first they have to get the coconuts, then they have to open them up, or maybe remove the water, which is very healthful actually. It's the healthful part of it. And then they have to take the meat that's inside of the inner shell of the coconut, and that's a soft white meat, and they press that to extract the coconut cream or milk from it. And then, in order to be able to get the oil out of the coconut cream, they have to use either chemicals or heat. Now, traditionally, coconut oil is produced with heat. They heat it up to the point that it separates. In fact, if you ever cook with coconut cream, don't ever heat it up too much, because you'll notice you're getting a lot of oil. Now, what you could do if you want to have the coconut cream and get that flavor without all the oil is you could cook it to the point where the oil is coming out of the cream, and then you could skim off as much of the oil as possible in order to remove the part of the coconut cream that is actually bad for you. Because there are health benefits to coconut cream, but they're offset by the oil and all the saturated fats that are in the oil. Now, if you get a coconut that's oil that's virgin, that's going to be better for you, because it was processed with cold instead basically they press, and it's called cold expelling, and they press it out with with just pressure, and that's going to be a lot better of a choice if you can get it, although I would not say that it's a top choice. Top choices are, going to be like the canola and the olive. Those are usually considered the best, as well as avocado, I think, is the other one that's really, really considered the best. So when you get something that's virgin, that's what that means. It means it is cold pressed or cold expelled with pressure only. And yeah, there's a potential that maybe there's some changes going on with chemicals like with oils that are pressurized to release them from whatever they're in, but the risks are massively less than anything that's treated with chemicals and or heat. So I hope that this information has helped you. Please, again, keep in mind also that if you are consuming food products and beverages like coconut milk, or you've got food that's got coconut oil in it, like a lot of the best fake cheeses and fake yogurts and fake ice creams have coconut and or palm oil in it. Those are not good for health. If you see that they're high in saturated fats, you should be avoiding them. Okay? If you have any questions down below, put your comments and I'll try to respond. Please also keep in mind, I am not a medical professional. I'm not a nutritionist or a dietitian. I'm also not a scientist. I'm just doing my due diligence to learn about health and trying to sort through all the lies that have been spewed out by the industry over the past several decades regarding what's good for you and what's bad for you, and sharing what I have learned with you. I have also had the opportunity to talk to 2 doctors who are experts in nutrition as well, who have verified the facts that I've shared with them as being accurate. And although I don't look to the American Heart Association, the American Diabetes Association, the American Dietetics Association, Susan G. Komen, or other organizations like that as infallible, because they are heavily influenced by the pharmaceutical industry, the food industry, the beverage industry, the diet industry through sponsorships. They do have some good information, and that also that is also even more true for the FDA and the USDA, which are heavily influenced by these industries that are financially motivated to give you the wrong information. So the food pyramid that we have from the USDA and FDA is not a good choice. You should be looking at minimum, you should be looking at the Mediterranean diet, if not going to a whole food plant-based diet. And if you're going to do the Mediterranean diet, you need to stop eating processed foods, which I know it's convenient, it's easy, but number one, it's more expensive in terms of the cost of the food. Number two, it's more expensive in terms of the cost of health care you're going to inflict on yourself, because number three, the processed foods damage your health. And that doesn't matter whether you're a meat eater or you're a vegetarian or you're a vegan. If you're eating lots of processed foods, which include junk food and fast food, you are undermining your health. So, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great day.